Hello children, in today's class we are going to study Paradise Lost book 1 and this is class 4. We are going to see lines from 160 to 240 in today's class. And before going into those lines, let me explain Milton's Cosmology in today's class. See, the Paradise Lost cannot be properly comprehended without forming a clear idea of Milton's cosmology. So when Milton took up the writing of the Paradise Lost, two theories of cosmology were in vogue. The first ancestral theory was this Ptolemaic theory. So according to this Ptolemaic theory, to which the Earth was supposed to be the stationary and all other planets were believed to be revolving around it. That is Ptolemaic theory. And next, if you see this side, I have put Copernican theory. And as I said, Ptolemaic theory, according to this theory, the Earth was supposed to be the stationary. And it was the theory traditionally accepted by ancient poets and philosophers. And this Copernican theory was more scientific and rational. Okay, so this theory had been available, this Copernican theory had been available for 100 years when Milton began to write the Paradise Lost. So according to this theory, Copernican theory, the Earth and all other planets revolved around the Sun. So that is the difference. Okay, according to Copernican theory, Earth and all other planets revolved around the Sun. So this theory is nearer to our present theory of cosmology. Milton, however, followed the ancient Ptolemaic theory. In this work, if you see, he has followed only this Ptolemaic theory because it was traditional and more poetical and imaginative. So he used this Ptolemaic theory. And much of Paradise Lost is occupied with events that take place outside the universe as known to man, that is in heaven, hell and chaos. So this division of space, hell, heaven and chaos, continues until the revolt of angels which leads to the expulsion. So the floor of heaven opens, the rebellious angels are driven out through the gap and fall through the abyss for 9 days. They come to the place which the Almighty has prepared for them. That is out of the portion of chaos. So it lies open to receive them, then closes above them and imprisons them. So this new abode of theirs is called hell. And it is situated, this hell is situated in the part of space that is remotest from heaven. So its shape, if you see, that is not described, but the roof of this hell is said to be vaulted. So this is actually the picture of Milton's cosmology. So you need to understand the picture to understand Milton's hell. And now we will move on to the poem. So now in today's class we are going to see, as I said, from lines 160 to 240. So this is actually Satan's reply. Fallen cherub, to be weak is miserable. Cherubim, so as we have already discussed, the angels are of two kinds, cherubim and seraphim, that is arranged in 3 ranks, archangels or chiefs, princes and individual powers of intelligence. So each kind having its special duties. So this fallen Satan replies to the fallen cherubim, that is angels, to be weak is miserable, doing or suffering, but of this be sure, to do aught good never will be our task, but our task is only to do ill, that is our sole delight. So Satan quickly he replies that their intention is not to do any good thing. So their intention is not to do anything good, and their pleasure shall be only to do evil. Okay, so this is what Satan says, and their pleasure, all the fallen angels' pleasure should be only to do evil. But he says, if God seeks to convert the evil that they do into good, their endeavor should be ever only to reverse God's purpose and to invent evil of good. So in this way, they may often succeed in annoying God. So this is what Satan wants. He wants, and he, along with the fallen angels, he wants to annoy God. So he says, we have to invent new paths to change this evil out of good. And in this way, we have to succeed in annoying God. So thus diverting the purpose from its intended end. Now, if you see the next stanza, the atmosphere seems to be better, he says. Satan says the atmosphere seems to be better, but see, the angry victor has recalled his ministers of vengeance and pursuit back to the gates of heaven. So the sulphurous hail shot after a storm, overblown, has laid the fiery surge that from the precipice. So now he says the atmosphere seems to be better, and the thunder and flame that followed the fallen angels is exhausted, and the fiery waves now they lie quiet. The thunder has perhaps expired. So Satan says they must not miss this opportunity. They must not miss this golden opportunity, whether it is given to them by their enemy out of contempt or appeased anger. He does not know. Satan does not know. But the hell looks gloomy, plain, abandoned and wild. So the very home of misery and ruin, with no light except a dim light that is cast by the dim flames, which is given next stanza. However, our own laws, how repair, how overcome this dire calamity. So now, and if you see here, he says, Satan says, let us not slip the occasion. Meaning is, let us not miss this occasion. Okay, this situation is the place, the seat of desolation, and this place is void of light. Say what the glimmering of these livid flames cast pale and dreadful. So Milton, if you see, was very fond of creating images of light and shade. Since he had gone blind, he had developed a keen longing for images of light. So for several years preceding his blindness, while his eyesight had been steadily falling, Milton saw everything in the hazy glimmer of light and shade. So this accounts for many images of transparent glimmer given by Milton in the various books of Paradise Lost. And this is a very good example for that image. So in the description, if you see, hell is described as a seat of desolation and void of light. So Satan says the hell looks like a gloomy plain, it's abandoned and wild. So it's the very home of misery and ruin, with no light except a dim light, and that is also cast by the dim flames. So Satan says there is no rest for them in this restless lake. So this hell is a restless lake for them, and he says there is no rest for them in the restless lake, and if they rest is only they can have after defeating God. Then after this conversation, Satan summoned the beaten forces, that is the fallen angels, to consult how they may henceforth annoy their enemy. So now their enemy is God. So he summoned all the fallen angels to consult how they can annoy their enemy, compensate their losses, get the best out of their lamentable disaster. So this is Satan's speech, that is Milton's Argument. This is what Satan said to his fallen angels. Thus Satan to his nearest mate, with head uplift above the wave and eyes that sparkling blazed his other parts beside. So this is what Satan, as I said to his comrade, nearest comrade is Beelzebub, with his head lifted above the waves and eye that shone widely, while the rest of his body lay prostrate on the lake, and it extended far in size, as large as any creature of abnormal shape, as mentioned in mythology of the Titans race that fought with Jove Briareos. So here Satan's size is described. Milton does not attempt to give any definite idea of his size or measurement. He only creates an impression of Satan's huge size through a series of apt similes. And if you see in this following passage, for example, Satan is described, see here I have highlighted those words, Satan is described as lying stretched out, huge in length, floating many a rood, equal in size to the earthborn enemies of Jove, or the sea monster. So this is a sea monster, or the sea monster which the mariner mistakes for an island. So this is the description here, this is the reference here. So Leviathan is a monster with 100 serpent hands who dwelt in a den in Tarsus in Cilicia. So here the reference is Leviathan, the largest sea creature, was mistaken by the steersman. So I believe you understand the line. So here the comparison is Satan's shape or the size is compared to sea monster or a sea animal Leviathan. So this Leviathan is a sea creature, and this was the reference here was the sea creature was mistaken by the steersman of some benighted vessel of the North Sea for an island as he sleeps. And it happens that the vessel is moored by his side with the anchor fixed in his body, covered with fishy scales on the sheltered side, while night lasts and the expected dawn approaches slowly. So Satan lay like the Leviathan, immeasurable in length, chained on the fiery lake. So that is the description here. Him happily slumbering on the Norway foam, the pilot of some small light foundered. So this is the comparison here. And now Satan could not have risen, or the Beelzebub could not have risen from it or lifted his head, were it not for the permission of Almighty. It is because of the permission, with the will of God, or the permission of God, they could lift their head. God left Satan free to pursue his wicked purpose, so that with repeated crimes he might bring on himself worse punishment. So at once Satan lifts his vast body from the lake. The flames being displaced on either side, being displaced on either side, rear their crest and rolling backward. So then with outspread wings, Satan soars up, resting on the gloomy air, which is burdened with his weight. Then he aligns on a dry land. It was hardly land which burned with solid fire as the lake with liquid, and it appeared like ashes in color, or as when a hill is uprooted from Pelorus. Okay, it's a place. So then with expanded wings he steers his flight. That is, he outspread wings, his wings, and which was a burdened weight, then he aligns on a dry land. So Beelzebub also followed him there. Both were delighted and proud to have escaped from the lake of fire, as they had the power of gods, and